Now this is a rare occurrence. The Argonauts behind at the half by 2 here in Montreal. A first half featuring 5 first quarter touchdowns. For the first half analysis, let's join our 3 men in the booth.
Yes, I wasn't sure I was ready for 35 points in the opening 15 minutes of play, and I don't know if that is a playoff preview. Could that be the way these two teams might be playing 2 weeks from now, if, and I do say if, they do meet?
I don't think there's any question that this is the way they'll play. With the roof shut, there'll be no problems at Sky Dome, and so there really aren't any weather problems, and I think that's exactly the way they'll play. It's going to be close to the vest, but they're going to distribute the football, get all their people involved.
Okay, let's take a look at the highlights of the first half, and a great start for the Montreal Alouettes.
They started out with the box right away. It was a blitz. Ham stood in, and just a perfect throw to Mill Coleman. This is the guy we had talked about stepping up to complement Climby and Armstrong. He does there on the fade route on a great throw from Tracy Ham, and then Flutie came right back with the no-huddle offense and went to his Rookie of the Year, Darryl Mitchell, sold the out and hit him on the fade. You know, this offensive line has stepped up, made some plays, and they allowed them to get in the end zone again.
Well, big time here. They got Toronto coming with the blitz again. They pick it up nicely. You got too many guys coming, not enough guys going to be covering. Throws it deep. Nice job by Armstrong finding the seam. Does some nice moves, and he's in the end zone for 7 points.
Chris, any adjustments you foresee in the second half?
Well, I tell you what, they got 5 touchdowns in the first quarter, all field goals the second quarter. I expect to see a lot more touchdowns in the third quarter.
I was going to say, if there's touchdowns, then field goals, maybe we'll see more defense, but the big guy says more scoring coming up, and we had plenty of it in the first half. So the Montreal Alouettes trying to set a tone for a possible playoff matchup, a 2-point lead at halftime. Doug Flutie with a couple of touchdown passes in the first half, 46 on the season. In a wide open affair here, the Canadian Tire statistics at halftime.
Well, very evenly matched operation. Both teams with the same amount of first downs. 6 yards differentiate the yardage. As we suspected, that the rushing attack of Montreal would outweigh the rushing attack from Toronto and vice versa with the passing. It's just been a solid first half.
Tracy Ham came out red hot in this one.
But you talked about how important it was for Tracy Ham to have a solid game today, because there'd been some talk that maybe he couldn't play against Toronto and Don Matthews. I think he's thrown that one out the window in the first half of this game.
Baker with the kickoff to start the second half. Clements inside his 10. And pinball down that far sideline. Oh, we saw all the glamour highlights of the first half, and Chris Walby's got the real stuff coming up.
Listen, I got the stuff that goes on there behind. Your offensive line is only as good as your fullback. Watch right here. Watch Maxey and Ford. Watch what happens right now. Does a nice move and needs a little help here. Here comes Michael Souls. Hello, baby. There's a bell ringer right there. Demetrius Maxey down for the 10 count right there. And if you can't block him that way, the second way is to run, block, and chop. Watch him. Right in the bottom of your screen right here, you're going to see a chop block and a roll. That's another way to keep a defensive lineman out of the backfield. And we're not going to pick on Montreal all the time. Watch the 2 guys at the bottom of your screen here. They're going to run a stunt. Little twist. Willie Williams comes inside, and oh no, baby. That's right. Larry McSeed's going to tend you down. Give you a little rollover.
And more of O-line corner coming up later as Robert Drummond with the first reception of a Flutie pass in the second half. Tracy Gravely there to make the stop. And a good 8-yard pickup on first down.
Well, Flutie's had a solid first half, and again, he's gotten everybody involved, which he does so well. And there they are, everybody touching the football, and does such a super job of keeping everybody involved, making sure they see the football in the first half so they can make a play for him in the second.
Remember, Mazzotti needs 142 yards for his 4th consecutive 1,000-yard season. Flutie with the keeper gets to the 45 and will move the sticks.
Well, so often the first drive of the second half is a tempo setter. It determines how you're going to feel about the game, the mental part of the game, and whether you're up or down. And if Toronto comes out and moves the football here and stuffs one in the end zone, it really puts a lot of weight on Montreal's shoulders and vice versa.
1st and 10. Flutie, left side over the head of Mazzotti into the Alouette bench. And Mazzotti and Flutie confer on little miscommunication.
Oh, Paul's helping his quarterback out, trying to sit it down. He did a good job in the first half of sitting down the sideline against the coverage he was seeing. And that was a corner. That was a little bit of an adjustment this time. This time, Torrey Hunter goes to the deep third, or the deep outside third of the field, and Douglas Kraft rolls up the cornerback to Mazzotti's side. And that was something they really didn't show Mazzotti in the first half. He'll sort it out, and he'll find a crease.
Mazzotti, a 10-year Argo veteran, 4th on the all-time receiving list with the Argos. And now Flutie on 2nd and 10, and that pass incomplete, intended for Dimitrition. Chris?
So well at center. No wonder he's been outstanding offensive lineman last year. As after he snaps the ball, if we can watch it, he'll snap the ball, he'll take his guy. Watch him right here. He's going to snap it, drop out. Now what he's doing, he's going to help to the left, to the right. He's going to find somebody to help out. He sees Alfred Payton coming free. He's over there to help again. That's what a good center will do for a good offensive line.
And I'll tell you what, he is maybe the best offensive lineman in the league, Chris. And as you suggested, he gets out and he's helping out his people as they rough up Alfred Payton. But I had a chance to play behind Kiselak. He's a heck of a player.
Vanderjagt booms another punt, and Chris Wright back in there to accept it. And here's Wright, drilled before he got to the 25. Big contact there, and Mike O'Shea's in the midst of it again. Boy, he's had a terrific football game. Well, Dave Ritchie with a rare smile on the sidelines. His team's 7-1 at Olympic Stadium this year, and hoping they'll be 1-0 at Molson Stadium after next week's Eastern semifinal against either Saskatchewan or BC. Alouettes first down, and here's Haskins bursting through a hole.
I think Thomas Haskins gets lost in the mix here. They don't find him. He's about 5'8", 175 pounds, but he's going to get in behind Brian Chu. 68's going to pull out looking for somebody to block, and he kind of gets lost in there. They can't find him. And finally, O'Shea finds him and tracks him down, but not after he picks up 7 yards.
And he is now just 7 away from 100 against a tough Argo defense that leads the league in 24 of 25 categories. Andrew Stewart with the tackle there on Haskins, and he'll be short of the first down.
Well, what's starting to happen up front is Andrew Stewart and the crew up front are starting to play the game on Montreal's side of the football. They're getting some penetration. We saw the play before where Haskins kind of got lost and then scooted out for 8. Actually, those offensive linemen were driven back into the backfield, and again it happens, and Haskins is stopped short of the first down.
Boy, just the second punt for Terry Baker today. Pinball back. Good punt. And Clements at his 26. Pinball, and he's nailed there. Bruno Heppel in on the tackle. 9-yard return, 51-yard punt. Here's Mark.
Well, Chris, it's playoff time in the CFL coming up next weekend, the best time of the year if you're a football fan. This will be our telecast schedule on Sunday, beginning with the East semifinal. It's either BC or Saskatchewan at Montreal, depending on the outcome of today's BC-Calgary game at McMahon Stadium. And then in the second part of our doubleheader, Saskatchewan at Calgary or Calgary at BC. Again, that will all be decided on the final game of the regular season. It doesn't get any better than that, does it?
And Calgary and BC going to decide the issue later today. Here's Doug Flutie, first down. Doug doing a nice escape back there, and now he'll take off and get to the sidelines at the 39-yard line. And Flutie close to 5 on the play, and Alfred Payton is slow to get up. He's been bothered by a bad ankle in the second half of the season, and it looks like he's aggravated that ankle injury.
Yeah, he gets twisted a little bit. He had a shot at Doug Flutie, constantly coming from the outside, working this time against Willie Williams, the big left tackle, and then sliding out to help out. It's the left guard, Pierre Bercheville, but Flutie just skates out of there and got him turned over, got the ankle turned over a little bit.
So Swack getting attention, and we'll take a timeout here in Montreal. Well, in a game like this, you want to leave an impression on the opposing players, but you want to leave healthy. And this is going to be a cause for concern on the Montreal sidelines, although looks like he's getting some weight in that ankle.
Yeah, he'll walk it off. He's going to turn the ankle right there. And the reason he turns the ankle is because the elusiveness of Doug Flutie and that ever-present AstroTurf, which doesn't give at all. So the ankle has to roll, and he'll walk that one off, and he'll be back.
Flutie got 4 on the Argo carry, and so it's 2nd and 6 from the 39. Flutie looking for Drummond out of the backfield, and Robert Drummond has a first down, chased down by Mark Washington up at the Toronto 49.
Tough assignment for Washington. He comes in on that play is to pick up somebody in coverage, and Flutie makes a perfect throw, and this is what it has to be. He can't throw the ball behind Drummond because he's going to catch it short of the first down. He has to hit him on the run, and he does. He hits him right on the run where he can turn straight up the field and just pick up the first down.
Mark Washington, a newcomer to the Alouettes in his second game. He just spent some time on the sidelines conferring with Gene Gaines. Now Flutie looking for Dwayne Dimitrition, wide open, still going. Dimitrition with Irv Smith hanging on down to the 5. 56 yards for Dwayne Dimitrition.
This is the throw Flutie has looked at a couple of times today, but because of pressure, he hasn't been able to get it off. As the Montreal defensive brain trust trying to sort this one out, it was a seam throw to the short side of the field. This time Flutie has great protection, and he's able to step up and stick it right on Dimitrition. And Herb Smith goes for a ride.
And it's down to the 5-yard line. So the Argos, who've been playing catch-up all afternoon, now poised to take the lead. Flutie with 297 yards passing, and he'll look into the end zone for Clements, and that's a touchdown. Alouettes are going to argue the call, but I think Clements, when he got his mitts on the ball, had broken the plane.
Well, I don't think he'd established it as a possession, Chris, before as he broke the plane. I think he had the ball on him in the end zone, but was bobbling it and was tackled outside the end zone. It should be on the 1-yard line.
Well, now it looks like they are saying it's 2nd down.
The ball's going to get tipped. Doug Flutie's going to raise up and try to stick pinball Clements right now, but Larry McSeed elevates and tips the ball. Now Clements has to establish it as possession. As you let it go there, if you let it go there, he's still bobbling. Now he has the football, but he's out of the end zone. So good call by the officials.
And by you. I stand corrected. And you know what? The Argos thought it was a touchdown, and a lot of their players went to the sidelines, and taking them a little extra time to regroup here. And the tip by McSeed saved the touchdown. Good play by Gravely. And now 2nd and goal from the 1, and Flutie will trot in. Touchdown, Doug Flutie. Well, he has the 47th touchdown of the season negated by the call. And instead, Doug adds his 5th rushing touchdown.
Yeah, they tried to stuff the point of the attack, and Flutie's just going to slide. The guy that's going to come over the top is Elfrid Payton. He's trying to stop the point of the attack. They just cave him inside, and Flutie slides along and finds an opening and goes in untouched.
Doug Peterson maybe looking for a Flutie autograph before the convert as he burst in there.
Offside. Montreal, number 94. Be 5 yards on the kickoff.
Second time today that Peterson has jumped the gun. And now Vanderjagt backs the extra point. It's 30-25. Toronto with the lead. 8:34 to go in the third quarter here at Olympic Stadium. .299 yards passing on the day for Doug Flutie. He finished this drive with a 1-yard run. And Pinball Clemens and Flutie conferring after the Argos take the lead for the first time in the afternoon. Here's Chris Wright. And Wright up across the 35-yard line on Tonius Bonner with the tackle. Chris?
I tell you what, one of the things that I'm sure Dave Archer will attest to is when you're around the red zone or the scoring zone is that you want to have a nice field of vision. When you run this play, watch what the offensive linemen like to do right here. They're going to get these guys' hands down. They're going to get their whole bodies down. Using the chop block opens up the field of vision for Doug Flutie, allows him to complete a pass to Pinball Clemens.
Oh, well said, Chris. It was a quick pass, and you'd like to get those hands down as you suggested. And I think you were one of the better chop guys in the league, weren't you?
What, in the restaurant or on the field? Here's Ham looking deep. Chris Armstrong stretches out and makes the catch. What a great catch by Armstrong, who's been the favorite target this afternoon of Tracy Ham. Fourth catch, 129 yards, and that might have been his third touchdown if the ball was thrown just a yard less.
Well, he lays out and makes a catch, and that's what has to happen. The ball is in the area, and as a receiver, you have to feel that it's my ball, and I'm going to catch it wherever he puts it. And he lays out and makes a play for his quarterback.
And when we went to break, you said this is a critical time in the game for Montreal. Ham, nice fake. Outside for Coleman, incomplete. Adrian Smith there in coverage against Mill Coleman.
I think Tracy's a little upset with Chris Armstrong. He got a little hung up inside. Tracy made a nice fake to Haskins and pulled everybody inside, and if he'd been able to set up and throw, which he was able to set up and throw, Armstrong was getting bumped down the field, so he had to try to go to Mill Coleman in the flat.
So it's 2nd and 10. Coleman bounces off, but he's down after a short gain. Well, you quarterbacks are tough. He just stretched out and made a great catch for you, and the next play he's back in the doghouse as a receiver. You guys don't cut them much slack, do you?
Well, you got to let it go. After you make a play, it's time to make the next play.
Well, now it's time for Terry Baker to make a play, as he'll be called on to attempt a 37-yard field goal.
And it's very important he knocks this one through for Montreal and for his own confidence, because we talked about how they needed to respond with a score of their own. And this would put them back within 2 points, but it would mean that they came back down the field and got some points.
Yeah, he made a chip shot, but has missed 2 others. Marvin Graves, the holder, and it's wide to the right, and this is killing the Alouettes. That's 3 today as Terry Baker wonders what's going wrong. Just a single point, and it's 30-26.
Marvin Graves, the holder, is going to bobble the ball just a bit as he catches it. Now that delays him getting it on the tee for Baker. Now it's pretty clean, but kickers are pretty particular, and he pushes this one out to the outside to the right, and they just get the single instead of the 3 that they needed. Now, Marvin Graves is the normal holder, but he's missed the last 5 games of the year because of an ankle, and he's back this week. Mill Coleman had been holding in his absence.
So it's a 4-point game. Argos with the lead. And Flutie, Drummond. And Robert Drummond to the 44. Torrey Hunter, the tackle. Drummond has close to 9. Well, he said that knee was sore, and it'll likely be a little sore after today, but it's held up so far.
Well, we've talked about how important it is for him to get in and get a chance to get the weight back on it, get it under the stress of a game.
Speaking of sore, Alfred Payton is back. Got a hobbled out onto the field. And Flutie will move the sticks.
Yeah, Alfred won't have the luxury of waiting for a week to get the soreness out, because he'll have to play at Molson Stadium next weekend against either Saskatchewan or BC, depending on how that Calgary-BC game comes out.
And it is a first down. Robert Drummond, by the way, has been a double threat as usual. 6 catches, 51 yards, 6 rushes, 48 yards, and that's just about the split on the season for Drummond. Over 1,000 yards rushing the football, and he likely would have been over 1,000 yards receiving had it not been for the injury. Can I rephrase that? He definitely would have been over 1,000 yards receiving. Flutie looking downfield, and that ball knocked down. Looking for Dimitrition on the far side, matched up against Hunter.
Well, Hunter and Dimitrition have had a bit of a battle today, and Dimitrition thought he got bumped right there at the end as Flutie tried to rifle the ball in the seam to him as he was getting into that area. Torrey Hunter has had a solid season for this team. He spent 2 years with the Houston Oilers on their practice squad and then back onto their regular squad, and he leads the secondary in tackles. It's been a nice year for him.
2nd and 10. Flutie rolling right. And that ball, I think, out of bounds. Yes, no catch. Kerwin, the intended receiver, but he was out of touch. And the Argonauts are going to have to punt the ball away for the first time in the second half.
Well, Doug visibly upset that Kerwin wasn't able to keep his feet in, but I think the ball took him out of bounds just a little more than Doug would have liked. And the youngster, the rookie wide receiver, couldn't get his feet down. Well, as it turns out, he had room to get his feet down. He just set the outside foot down before he set the inside foot down. And Doug upset with that. He put the ball where it needed to be.
Here's a block. That's Bruno Heppel, who blocked one earlier this year. Rolling down inside the 5. Get up, Bruno. And he will. Touchdown.
Well, an uncharacteristic miscue by a Don Matthews coach team. Their special teams are as solid as any's in the league, and Dave Ritchie's crew has a block on, and Bruno Heppel comes right through the middle untouched, blocks it, rolls on it, and then with the help of Chris Cuthbert gets up and scores.
Well, it's his first CFL touchdown. I thought he froze there for a second. What a big throw for him. One of Chris Walby's kind of guys, coming through big. And Montreal gets a big play when they need it, and Baker puts the point after through. And the Alouettes are back on top.
Well, Bruno Heppel is right here, I believe. We're going to see him come through. And nobody touches him.
And this is the second time he's done this against the Argos this year. I was thinking of sharing the glory with somebody. Almost handed it off, but just get it in the end zone.
Well, as Chris Walby always refers to in these special team situations, is you have to count people out. And when they line up with people staggered, sometimes they count improperly. And either the center or the up back was supposed to get a pop on Heppel, and he just went through the middle, and they didn't sort it out properly. And Heppel's got his first CFL touchdown of his career.
And while the Alouettes are celebrating, there was an injured man down on the play after the convert.
That's Ryan Coughlin, and he's their long snapper, so he's a guy that you need to keep in the game, because those guys are hard to come by, a good solid deep snapper.
And under his own power, Ryan is heading off. 4:18 remaining in the third quarter. After a quick start by the Alouettes, they led 14-0. Argos fought back to take the lead, but it was short-lived. as the Alouettes come up with a big play on special teams. You're right, though. It doesn't happen to a Don Matthews coach team very often. For Heppel to do it twice in the same season is an accomplishment, and obviously a breakdown in the Argos scheme of things. Here's pinball. And Mike Clements across the 30. Let's join Mark Lee with a familiar Montreal face.
Thanks, Chris. In the Alouette private box with the former Canadiens general manager Serge Savard, who is a guest of the team here today. And amid word, Serge, that you've been asked to try to help the club make inroads with respect to corporate support of this community.
Well, I guess Larry's meeting a lot of people in the business community, and he's asking for some help. And as a citizen, you know, I think we have everything to gain to keep our club in Montreal as well as the ball club. I may get involved a little bit just as a citizen.
Right.
You know.
Well, you're well connected in this community. What do you think? I mean, can this team make a go in Montreal?
I think so. It's just the fact that we lost football here for about 10 years, and it might not be a very good stadium for football right now here. But going back downtown, it's the same thing with Mr. Brochu. I guess it's going to be a good thing.
You think the Molson Stadium might help rekindle some nostalgia next weekend?
Yeah, I think they'll practice next week. But with renovation, it could be a good stadium.
All right, Serge, thanks for your time, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, Serge Savard has been a season ticket holder with the Alouettes, a great fan, and he could make a big impact. Here's Flutie on second down, out to Clements. Clements with his third catch of the game, and he's wrapped up at the 50 and driven back as Douglas Kraft shoves him away. 12-yard gain for the pinball.
You can always tell when Doug Flutie's on his game by where he puts the football and how quickly it gets on his receivers. He's going to get back, and he's going to see Clemens break the sideline. Look where the ball is, right on the money as he's running to the sideline. That allows Clemens to catch the ball and turn immediately upfield and get north and south and pick up the first down. And Doug has done that today. He's hit several people in stride to allow them to get up the field.
Pinball now, 120 catches. Still, Fallon Pitt's receiving record might be reachable, especially if Doug Flutie keeps looking his way. There's another catch, 121 up to midfield, and a gain of 6 yards. You know, 300 yards is I guess the mark of an excellent game for a quarterback. I think what's remarkable about Doug Flutie, he's averaged over 308 yards passing in every game as a Toronto Argonaut.
That's phenomenal. And the reason being is because he gets the ball to people like Clemens right away and allows them to make something happen. Urban Smith comes in right at the end to try to dress up the tackle, and he gets dressed up by Alfred Payton. He's still feeling the effects of that shot. That's one that Chris Walby will love right there. That's a beauty.
Well, let's check in with the big guy.
I tell you what, on this play, you're right. Tom Hips, you can see him. He's building up a head of steam. A big guy's getting some room to run here now. He's going to try and help out. He just got in the game. Whoa. Bam, he catches his own player, as you said. And watch the arms. They just go flat. Bingo. This is like it is in a cartoon. We just hope he's not hurt that bad.
Tom Hips, the big rookie nose tackle, and he's got to remember his guys are wearing blue also.
Well, they've hosed Irv down to trying to bring him to, and looks like he's going to be okay, but that was a knockout shot by his own teammate. One more look at Hips, and Tracy Gravely got a piece of him too.
Well, you know what happens there is, like you said, the cartoon, Chris, is like the anvil got dropped on his head.
All-Canadian cornerback.
Dropped a few shots on
well,
some
I
people
tell you
like
what,
that.
I haven't seen anything like that. And I've been knocked over piles by defensive backs. I don't care who hits you. If you get that momentum behind you and you're in the wrong spot, bam! But it's like you talk about the piano coming off the top of the building. Lights out, baby.
Well, Irv will try and get the lights back on, and Mark Washington will come in to take his spot. 2nd and 5 for the Argos at midfield, and Flags flying before the play gets off.
Well, now that goes from a conversion situation on 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5 to now 2nd and 10.
Procedure, Toronto number 65, still second down.
Big Willie Williams. It has not been an error-free afternoon for the Double Blue.
No, and I think that's forced by the way Montreal's played defensively, but now the situation is, now Doug doesn't have the opportunity to drop the ball off to a guy at 5 yards and know he has the first down. If he drops it off, somebody's going to have to run for a first down for him. So that's the difference in the mistake by Willie Williams.
That time possession stat means that they've been playing fluty ball here in the second half so far. Doug over the middle, and this one's picked off. Tommy Europe has it. Intended for Dwayne Dimitrition, but the free safety, Tom Europe, who made a big play last week to ensure a Montreal victory, has an interception. Europe's third of the year.
Well, Doug got pressured and he threw it off his back foot a little bit. I think he's upset that his receiver kind of gave up on the ball I think he felt he gave up on the football a little bit, but Tom Europe, as you said, Chris, has come up with so many plays for this team. Doug was pressured and threw it off his back foot, and Dimitrition just couldn't find the ball. He saved 3 games for this team, Tom Europe, by plays in the final few seconds.
Of course, he's a Toronto guy out of Northern Secondary School.
Well, Tom Europe was the all-West free safety last year in BC. Had a little stint in camp with the Saints and has come back and really solidified the free safety spot for a good Montreal defense.
So the Alouettes with the football. Thanks to Tom Europe. 2nd and 8 in the final minute of the third quarter. And Tracy Ham can't find anybody. Now throws and skips the pass. Incomplete, intended for Chris Armstrong. So the Alouettes unable to do anything offensively with the Tom Europe interception. And they'll be forced to punt.
Well, Tracy had good time there, as Doug Flutie did not enjoy on the last series of downs with the glare in his face. He had to throw off his back foot and threw his 23rd interception of the season.
46 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. Is that like a pitcher, baseball, or walks and strikeouts? Should be a 2-to-1 ratio?
Well, it's a bit high for Doug Flutie standards, and I'm sure he would be the first guy to say that. I think he's thrown a few more interceptions this year than he normally does.
Baker, and they get to Baker's punt. That one was blocked by Donald Smith. So the Argos answered that back with a block of their own.
Well, Donald Smith, as Bruno Hempel was on his block, is completely unblocked. He comes in off the edge of the formation and just flies in and finds the point where the ball's going to be kicked and snuffs it. He goes right by the up back. Nobody blocks him.
That's the 2nd block of the year for Donald Smith.
Ironically, the up back that's blocking here is Bruno Hempel. And Bruno only gets an arm on Donald Smith, and Smith knocks the ball down.
Norm Casola came up with the ball. And at the 39, it's a first down for the Argos. Flutie rolling to his right. And that pass incomplete. Irv Smith is going to be called for pass interference, because I'm not sure that ball was catchable, was it? Smith?
I would have to agree. The ball's thrown to the sideline and out of bounds. I think this is good, solid corner play by Irv Smith, just holding his ground. The receiver's going to
forward pass interference. Montreal number 21, first down.
Andre Kerwin is going to run into Irv Smith, and there's always hand fighting going on between the receiver and the corner, and I think this would have been better off as a no call. You're not going to be able to see the end of the hand fighting that went on this play, but you see where the ball is thrown, and I'm not, as you said, I don't think Andre Kerwin would be able to even get to it.
They put it down to the 23, first down Toronto. 10 seconds to go, third quarter. Flutie, quarterback draw. dropped the ball, and the Alouettes have it. Penalty marker down. That's Swift Birch running downfield. Birch still going. Dimitrition, maybe the only guy to get him. No, Flutie does. But what is the penalty? A marker back at the line of scrimmage.
Well, Mike Kiselak had a solid block on Gravely, and it looked like he might have held him, but I don't know what the call. We're going to have to wait and see what the call was.
Holding. Toronto number 57. Decline. First down.
Well, they get Dan Payne for the hold, Chris, and so the play will stand. Swift Birch with the return.
A wild end to the third quarter. A 63-yard return by Swift Birch after Doug Flutie was stripped of the football. 45 minutes of wild CFL action. 33-30 Montreal.
Well, Doug Flutie made a super play to maybe save a touchdown, but it was because of a fumble by Doug Flutie that the situation resulted. Doug takes so much on his shoulders to make things happen for this offense, and this time he calls his own number. This is a quarterback draw, but he wants to shift the ball to the right arm, and as he starts to, he loses it. And now the ball's scooped up by Swift Birch, and Swift starts looking to bail some water out of a sinking ship right here, and Doug Flutie's going to come in from behind and make the play.
I'm not sure he lived up to his name with the fumble return. Here's Ham looking in the end zone, and the ball knocked down, but a flag flies as Adrian Smith is down. Looking for Chris Armstrong in the end zone for the third time.
Well, Tracy Ham babied this throw a little bit, and Adrian Smith actually had a better play on the football than the wide receiver did.
Forward pass interference. Montreal number 3. Decline. Second down.
I'm going to call Mill Coleman. Apparently setting a pick.
Well, Tracy had Armstrong for the touchdown, and he underthrew it. He just didn't get the ball out there.
Adrian Smith on the limp. You wonder if Ham looks back that way. 2nd and 10 from the 24. Time to throw. He does go down that side. No, Coleman incomplete. And it'll be third down.
Well, 2 poorly thrown balls by Tracy Ham in this series, and they're not going to reap the benefits of the great field position. And this is a victory for the Toronto defense to come in and shut down Tracy Ham and his offense and hold him to a field goal opportunity.
And another test for Terry Baker, who's had a tough afternoon.
Well, they've got the firing squad lined up on the sidelines if he misses this one.
From 31 yards out, Graves the holder, and Baker nails that one. And it's a 6-point lead for the Alouettes, 36-30 here early in the fourth quarter.
Well, there's a stay of execution, and Terry Baker pounds that one through, and now it's a 6-point game. But Tracy really struggled in that series. I don't know what happened to him, but underthrew Armstrong for the touchdown and then didn't get the ball to Mill Coleman.
Well, it was a strange third quarter for the Alouettes. They only had 57 yards of offense, and yet they outscored the Argos 8-7 in the third quarter.
Now let's try. The Toronto offense really began to take a little bit of control of the game. Let's see if they can try to get the score back in their favor.
Robert Drummond. Not much there. Up the middle. Stacked up. Doug Peterson in the middle of the pile. The big guy out of Fort St. John, BC. And Simon Fraser. So just 2 for Drummond, and it's 2nd and 8. Wow, that doesn't happen very often. Flutie Looking for Mazzotti, who has another catch out of bounds at the 48. So Paul Mazzotti closing in on a 1,000-yard season. Catches that in front of Torrey Hunter. Flag, though, on the other side of the field. Let's find out what that marker's about.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Montreal number 25. Decline. First down.
You know, this official crew has done a good job today, but you gotta, you know, the only illegal contact calls of the game have come against Toronto receivers, none against the Montreal receivers, and you know they're getting banged around a little bit too. I kind of wonder about that a little bit.
Mazzotti 26 yards away from 1,000. Flutie looking for Daryl Mitchell, and a great catch by Mitchell inside the Montreal 40. That kind of got away from Daryl Mitchell in this since the quick touchdowns in the second quarter.
Well, he's gotten covered up a little bit, but this is a super catch. He's going to get in the seam area between the numbers and the hash, try to widen a little bit, and the throw is out there where Doug Flutie would like him, and he elevates and makes a super catch in the zone.
So the Argos on the move at the Montreal 38. Trailing by 6. Over the middle. There's Mazzotti. And Paul Mazzotti to the 25.
Well, what's happening now is Doug is changing formations now. He's trying to scheme the defense of Montreal a little bit. Now he's bringing Andre Kerwin, who's normally his outside receiver, wide outside receiver, in tight to the left side, and he's got Paul Mazzotti, who's normally his receiver to the short side of the field, in the slot to the wide side. So mixing things up a little bit.
Mazzotti closing in. Flutie. Incomplete. A pass intended for Dimitrition. Irv Smith and Tracy Gravely both there defensively.
The same formation, and now Montreal concerned with what was going on to the wide side of the field. Flutie tries to stick one into the backside, Dimitrition. But good coverage back there. Those guys didn't fall asleep.
Well, the Argos trying to win for the 16th time this year. Only the Edmonton Eskimos in '89 were able to post a 16-2 record. Here's Flutie on 2nd and 10. And that ball knocked down at the line. Or was it Tracy Gravely? It was a mass of people there. Flutie trying to throw it over Gravely and Payton, and couldn't get it over the pile. So the defense closes the door.
Had the blitz on, number 1, Tom Europe in there. So it was man coverage, and he had a chance maybe for the home run to pinball Clemens, but it's batted down.
And Vanderjagt on to attempt a 32-yarder. And Vanderjagt pushed that left. Tough miss for Vanderjagt, who's been reliable all season long. And it's a 5-point advantage instead of 3.
That is Doug Flutie. I think he's a little irritated. He's such a perfectionist. He gets a little irritated if he doesn't get the ball in the end zone. And then if you miss the field goal, double irritation for Doug Flutie. He's talking to John Jenkins right here, offensive coordinator. This guy right here, Bill Bradley, defensive coordinator.
Alouettes with a 5-point lead as Ham goes back to work, airing it out, looking for Nigel Williams. What a battle with Donald Smith down the sidelines. Incomplete.
Well, that's good coverage by Donald Smith, but how is this not illegal contact and the one Urban Smith had with Andre Kerwin called? Because this is the same thing that was going on, a hand-fighting situation. Smith's grabbing the arms and pulling on him, as you see him pulling on him still, and I think it's good corner play, but you got to call it on both sides of the ball.
So 2nd and 10 for Ham. And Ham pulls it down, and he may take off, and he's in trouble. Barely got back to the line of scrimmage as Johnny Harris closed ground in a hurry.
Well, Alan Wetmore, a rare opportunity for him to be in the game at running back, and as Tracy began to scramble, he had a chance to put a block on one of Don Matthews' guys and allow Ham to get up the sideline, but he didn't get it done.
So Baker comes on to punt. And pinball's back. 10:20 to go, fourth quarter. Baker gets it away. Clements from his 38. And big hitting down there. Ray Bernard flying around again. He was the one that nailed pinball a couple of weeks ago. 37-yard punt, 4 on the return. Well, if this is a preview of the Eastern Final, then it is going to be a beauty in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, there's Saskatchewan. Well, BC will have something to say about that. What do all these guys have in common? Mike Pringle, Doug Flutie, Tracy Ham, and Pinball Clements. One of the outstanding players in the CFL for the last 8 years represented here in those 4. And here's Robert Drummond, who might have been a candidate this season had it not been for the knee injury 3 weeks ago in Winnipeg.
Well, if you had any reason to come to the football game, there's your reason right there. You got the top performers in the league over the last 8 years, all of them here today. And although Mike Pringle's not suited up, he's in attendance pulling on for his team, and he will be suited up next week at Molson Stadium. You can count on that.
2nd and 6 for the Argos from their 46. Including looking left, no one home, so he'll scramble around. In pursuit, Swift Birch. Now he gets rid of it. Dimitrition tried to climb up to get that one, and it was uncatchable and out of play near the Argo bench. So this defense that was unraveling a bit earlier on is starting to stiffen again for Montreal.
Well, they come into the game ranked 7th in the league against the pass, which is 2nd to worst. But they've limited Doug's opportunities. They've pushed him into several 2-and-out series. And this is another one where they've come in and shut him down to where he's had to go sit on the sidelines, and Flutie's not able to do anything when he's sitting over on the bench.
I did a double take when I saw that stat about Montreal's pass defense. They've got an all-Canadian corner, good set of linebackers, a pass rusher like Peyton. Seems surprising, a safety like Tom Europe. Chris Wright, trouble again, but somehow held on to the football and now goes down, but it's been an adventure for Wright this afternoon. No yards on that return after a 39-yard punt, and Norm Casola finally finished off the receiver. And Antonio Bonner is in some difficulty.
Holding. Montreal number 23. First down.
Torrey Hunter gets flagged for the holding penalty, but there's a couple of Argos still kneeling on the field. Antonius Bonner down. Looks like the right arm bothering him a little bit, and Johnny Harris is also kneeling on the field. Harris almost rips the head right off of the kick returner there, and then Tony Bonner takes a shot in the back from his own man, Kelly Wilshire.
And they lost Marcelo Simmons earlier today. That hasn't happened much to the Argos this season. About as injury-free through 17 games as a team can be.
Well, I think Antonius Bonner had wrapped his right arm around Chris Wright, and then he got hit from behind by Kelly Wilshire, and that's why they're looking at the arm.
8:54 remaining here, and a real turnaround from the way things had gone earlier this year. In the preseason, it was 40-0 in favor of the Argos, 46-8 in the first regular season game, 28-21 the last time they met, so the Alouettes have made some progress. Mark?
Chris, here's our starting lineup tonight in prime time on CBC television. Following an all-new Wind at My Back, it's Dooley Gardens with Mary Walsh and Andy Jones, then Chrysler Stars on Ice, and the life and times of Martha Burns, kicked off at 5 by another World of Disney.
There's a pass complete. Ham to Jock Climby. We haven't called that name much today.
Yeah, Climby hasn't been much of a factor. He leads this thing in receptions. In fact, he's third in the league, or second in the league, tied with Darren Flutie coming into this weekend in receptions. And this ball is put right on him, right between the 8 and the 2. And he's lucky it was, because Donald Smith flew in there and almost knocked it down.
Flutie looks on, down by 5, as Ham tries to convert this second and short situation. And Souls will move the sticks. And that's the first time they've converted a second down play in the second half.
Well, this is where Tracy Ham would like to see his running game get back in gear. They really haven't run the ball much here in the second half, and they haven't run it very effectively. And Tracy would like to get Haskins and the big offensive group up front running the football. But he won't be able to get Haskins involved. He's not in the game.
They've got Wetmore and Souls in the backfield. 1st and 10. Ham out to Armstrong. And Armstrong pushed out by Lester Smith near the 39. And that will be another first down. Well, he has been a mark of consistency with the Alouettes. 6 100-yard games this year. There's Haskins cooling out on the sidelines. Not sure if he's been nicked or whether he's being saved as insurance for next week in case Pringle can't go. Souls on the draw and near the 40. Has 2. Andrew Stewart there. Rob Waldrop.
Well, now it's 2nd and long, 2nd and 9. Only picked up 1 yard on the draw play to Michael Souls. And Dave Ritchie's probably wondering whether Thomas Haskins is going to be able to get back in the ball game.
Well, a confidence builder for the Alouettes here this afternoon at the Olympic Stadium. And now, 2nd and long again. 8 yards to go. Ham throwing, complete. Nigel Williams trying to escape. Oh boy, he got that foot loose. He was gone. Footloose and fancy free to the end zone.
Well, I had a chance to talk to Nigel Williams before the game, and he was a little discouraged that he hasn't been more of a featured receiver. He felt like this might be a year for him. He's got 23 receptions coming into the ball game, and this is one he almost turned into a huge play, but just held on to and limited his gain by Adrian Smith to a first down completion. But good throw by Ham and good protection on the roll.
Under 6 minutes to go. Alouettes lead by 5 and now into Toronto territory. Michael Souls. Souls shows you he can still run the pigskin off the left side for 7. Rob Waldrop there to bring him down. And he'll be right at home next week at Molson Stadium.
Well, Michael Souls is going to do his version of Pinball Clemens. He's going to bounce off a 1, skate by another, and then make 2 other guys make the play. But a good first down play, 7 yards. And this is the key to going against this Toronto defense.
2nd and a couple. Souls again, right side, tripped up, and then the ground made him fumble, so the play was stopped. Johnny Harris the tackle, and I think Michael Souls is short.
Well, the last little effort he made puts them close enough to where they consider going. They can consider going. It's going to be a long yard, but I think this is a good decision. It's too long a kick for Terry Baker. He's been inconsistent today. This is, you put it on your offensive line and your big running back and let him go get it for you.
Yeah, it'd be 51 yards for Baker, but he's only 2 for 4 today. They'll go for 3rd and 1. Souls stopped initially, and then I think lunges for what could be a first down.
Well, it's a great effort by Souls because Demetrius Maxey hits him about a yard deep in the backfield. But because Souls' strength, 6'1", 220, he muscles through the tackle and lays out, and I think he's picked up the first down.
Do the Alouettes maintain possession with 4:18 to go, or do the Argos take over? Just got it by the nose of the football. Second effort.
And it was the last little effort, Chris, as you said, second effort by Michael Souls. He's hit in the backfield by Demetrius Maxey, who's untouched. Maxey's 91. He's at the bottom. He's going to come in untouched, and he's hit in the backfield. Now Souls stretches and gets the first down.
Tracy Ham, Michael Souls, part of that Eskimo team in '89 that went 16-2, trying to prevent the Argos from matching that mark. Go back to Souls, and he's got more good yardage up the middle, and might argue he should have had more. Quick whistle will negate a little extra on that run by Souls. Mark?
Chris, Thomas Haskins just got up gingerly off the Alouettes bench. He just told me he's suffering from back spasms in his lower back and looks in a fair bit of discomfort and is having trouble with his range of mobility.
You know what happens there to Haskins is the fact that he hasn't played very much, and now all of a sudden he's getting a lot of time, puts a lot of strain on some muscles he probably hadn't had to use much in a game situation.
Here's Ham looking outside, and Jock Climby with the catch. Bonner back in the game, made the tackle. Tell you what, this is an impressive drive by the Alouettes at a critical time.
Well, this is when you expect Jock Climby to get involved against Don Matthews' defense, is when the game is on the line. And Ham knows that. He knows he's got his veteran receiver who's caught over 85 passes for him this season, and he goes high to make a catch against Antonius Bonner.
They're chewing up the clock here and keeping Doug Flutie on the sidelines and hoping to add to a 5-point lead. First down. Ham rolling. Mike O'Shea was there again, brought it back inside, and Reggie Gibbons finished him off. Under 3 minutes to go at the Big O, and the home team in command.
Your short yarders of Montreal, you got to account for this guy, Demetrius Maxey. You got to bring your slot in. You got to put it back on the line. You can't take this kind of mistake here. He should have been stopped short in this play, and if it wasn't for his third effort, they wouldn't have got the first down.
And now the drive continues. 2nd and 10 for Ham over the middle. Armstrong with a catch at a 15-yard line, and that will move the sticks, and this drive continues. 12 plays now, 78 yards, and almost 6.5 minutes off the clock.
Well, the old warrior, Tracy Ham, comes through with another great throw. Armstrong fights to the inside of Johnny Harris, now snaps it across the field, and the ball is right on the money. And boy, Tracy Ham, his accuracy has been at a premium today. He's missed a few, but this has been a solid ball game by Tracy Ham.
2:10 to go. The Alouettes using all the time. 1 second on the time clock as Ham rolls left. Tracy Ham inside the 5, touchdown. Well, if their intent was to serve notice today, they did it in one impressive drive here late in the 4th quarter.
Well, there's something about this play. Tracy misses the handoff. This is a broken play. He just didn't get the ball to Michael Souls. He didn't get the ball. He pulls it out. The offensive line's coming off the ball to block it. Ham pulls it, runs to the sideline, and scores. Once again, Tracy Ham improvises and makes the play.
Baker, the extra point. And it's 43-31 with 1:59 to play. Well, one of the most impressive drives of the season against the Argos. 13 plays, and look at the time off the clock.
Wow, and that's the big stat in that is the time of possession. And then if you can culminate your drive with a touchdown, as Tracy Ham did, that just makes it monstrous. And now Flutie is up against the wall.
Here's pinball from the 14. And he stopped before he reaches the 30. Here's Tracy Ham, who admitted on the sidelines that was a broken play, and he broke it.
Yeah, he wanted to hand the ball to Michael Souls. Their offensive line's going to come off and really try to establish the run there, but he pulls it out. And then everybody's expecting the run, and as Ham does so well, improvises and makes a play.
I guess you don't mind apologizing to your teammates when you get it in the end zone.
I tell you, one of the things that I like, Chris, is the fact right here, Uzumo does a great job of not letting Demetrius Maxey come outside. He hooks him. Even though it's a broken play, he allows Tracy Ham to get to the corner. That helps Tracy score the touchdown.
17 yards for Ham. Now Flutie will go to work. Tip pass. Mitchell can't bring it in. Minute 48 to go.
Oh, another batted ball by this defense is Chris Armstrong.
Big catch in the drive.
Oh, he sets it. See, what he does in the route there is he's going to make the nice catch, but he gets back up the field. It makes Johnny Harris think he's going straight up the field, and then he snaps it across, which creates separation. Ham, perfect throw.
2nd and 10 for the Argos. Flutie over the middle behind Mazzotti. Incomplete, and it'll be 3rd down as Flutie tries to get something going with his best receiver on the day, Paul Mazzotti.
Well, Doug wanted Mazzotti to sit that down in the hole right there, and Paul didn't see it that way. He felt like he should continue to keep coming through. Flutie's going to set up and throw it in a hole. Mazzotti runs through that hole. He threw it to where Gravely wasn't, and he felt like Mazzotti was running into coverage. You see him saying, right there, baby. Right there in that hole's where you're supposed to be for me.
Here we go, 3rd and 10 for the Argos, and the fans here at the Big O on their feet with a minute 43 to go. Here comes the rush. Flutie in trouble, got it away, and it's picked off. Tom Europe stepped in front of Paul Mazzotti, and the Argos have turned it over. Hold on, who's that in there? It's not Europe, it's Irv Smith.
Well, I had a chance to talk to Irv Smith right before the game, and he said, I said, what's important about this game, Irvin? And he said, well, it's important for us to let our young guys know that we can beat Toronto. They're the team that everybody thinks is high on a pedestal and nobody can touch them. We want to go out and show our guys that we can play and beat this football team. And he and his teammates have sent that message today. 3rd
interception of the year for Smith. Souls upended by Waldrop right at the line of scrimmage.
Let's go.
Get another one. Well, Irv was knocked down once today, but he's off the mat.
Long time coming, Canada, but hey, new beast in the East, baby.
Timeout.
2 weeks, we're going to meet him again.
Argos want to get the football back in Flutie's hands and call their timeout. Well, this would end a 6-game winning streak for the Argos over the Alouettes if the 12-point lead holds.
Well, this goes a long way for confidence across the board for Montreal to beat the team that everybody considers is a shoe-in for the Grey Cup.
Don Matthews has said a number of times over the last few years that he never sees anything positive in a loss. It just doesn't jive with his coaching philosophy. But this might be a good tune-up for the Argos that have made it look almost too easy at times in the 2nd half of the season.
Well, they'll certainly put their nose to the grindstone if they didn't do it already.
There's Souls on 2nd and 10.
And I would agree with Don Matthews. I don't think there is anything good that comes out of a loss. If it does tune your team up a little bit, makes them work a little bit harder, but I don't know.
Great records don't always translate into great Grey Cup champions. 89, the best example of that. But a 15-3 team twice in Calgary with Doug Flutie at the controls did not win a Grey Cup either.
And whoever they face in the Eastern Final, whether it be BC, Saskatchewan, or this Montreal team, the team that they'll play will come to play, and it'll be a tough outing.
And we won't see the same Saskatchewan team we saw on Friday night.
Well, let's hope for Jim Daly and everybody in Saskatchewan we don't.
Saskatchewan has beaten the Argos. The Calgary Stampeders did it. And the Montreal Alouettes on the verge of doing likewise as they run down the clock here. A couple of seconds left, and it looks like they'll take the time count. get it down to 66 seconds remaining.
Eating every ounce of time away from Don Matthews.